Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. So today's video is going to be a lesson from my new long-awaited violin book 3, which takes us from lessons 21 to 30. Now I have to say that this is a true masterpiece. These are probably the best books I have written to date, even if I do say so myself. Comparing them to everything else that I have written, these are very, very comprehensive books. However, they have still been written for the self-learner in mind. And I can tell you guys right now that nothing online in the world exists like this. So these books come in 2 parts. So these are lessons 21 to 30, but I have split them into 2 parts. And the reason being is that this part 1 talks about third position. So this is lessons 21 to 25. And the second part talks about bowing techniques. You cannot buy these books separately. Once you buy the book, you get both of these. They don't really have anything to do with each other, so I have just simply separated them out into 2 books just for the purpose of clarifying that. In addition to these 2 books, as per usual, they will come with a songbook 3, and it is very, very advisable that you buy songbook 3. So on my shop, you will be able to buy these books, which are lessons 21 to 30, and you will be able to buy book 3 separately for $9.99. That's US dollars as well. However, you'll be able to buy them in a combo deal, all 3 books together, to save yourself a little bit of money. So everything you see here is going to be linked in the description bar underneath this video to purchase, and these are downloadable books only. I want to make that very, very clear. There is nothing physical to ship out, as with any of the books on my shop. They are 100% downloadable, so as soon as you've purchased, you just get straight on downloading and off you go. So I really hope you enjoy these next set of 10 lessons, and let's get into the lesson. Okay, so in lesson 24, the penultimate lesson in the third position book, we're going to be putting all the positions together and learning to shift. Now it's important in this lesson that you need to take the most amount of time doing this. Do not rush into any of this, and don't forget you've got all the songs that will be in the songbook 3 that you really should move on to after this, so that you can practice shifting in third position. It's not always about when to shift in the music, because usually composers will put finger numbers in, and that will give you an idea when you sort of have to shift. So you'll be starting off in first position, and then all of a sudden you'll see over what would look to be an open E, you'll see a 2, and you will soon learn that that is a second finger on the A string in third position. And it's these kind of little characteristics that you are going to need to start to learn. And this is where this next section in the book is going to take us. But before we do that, we need to learn how to shift. And it's very, very simple. It's just a case of practicing. So some people do shift very differently. This is how I do it, and this is how I teach my students to do it. But basically, you want to be moving from first position to third position, and the moral of the story is that everything wants to pick up and move. So the first thing that we don't want to be doing is scooting our fingers up the neck of the violin. That's not what we want to do. We want to be shifting as a whole. First position, third position, first position, third position. So we're going to be doing some exercises in just a few minutes just on shifting. And those exercises aren't going to be pretty to play or very audible particularly, but they're just there for the purpose of us shifting. These aren't the kind of shifts in those exercises that you would normally do. They're just to get you shifting up and down the violin. And the best way to do that is by using those exercises. So, I mean, without even doing the exercises in the book, you could just do things like 1 to 1, 1 to 1. So So it doesn't even matter if you hit the right note in intonation. The most important thing is to be shifting. So the first thing that you'll do is you'll play the first note. Let's take a first finger on the A string for argument's sake. Then you want to move up to, let's say, the first finger on the A string also, but in third position. So what you want to do is you'll be gripping around the neck. So you'll be gripping these 2 fingers around the neck. Then you'll want to slightly let go of that grip, move your hand up and place it down where you want it to be. So it's not only a case of knowing where those fingers need to go, 1 to 1, 1 to 1, which As a side note, coincidentally, I think it's a good idea to keep your third finger dot. I think if you want to be a bit extra, remove the first finger dot, but I think you should keep the third finger dot in for a good while, or at least until you've wrapped your head around third position and you're not having to think about third position anymore. Because the last thing you want to do is try and recognize the notes in the music as being third position. Oh my God, where are they? I can't find them. I don't know where they are. I can't sort of find them out and work them out quick enough. Not only that, but you're trying to work out where the fingers are going up and down the fingerboard as well. So I think you should keep your third finger dot on that you will have had from the other 20 previous lessons. Take the others off, keep the third finger dot on, because it will just help you visualize where you've got to go. How can you teach your hand where to shift if you don't know where that shift is? How can you teach your ear what the right note to shift to is if you haven't taught your ear that? So that's why I think you should keep the dot on. I don't think you should keep the third finger dot on forever, but I just think for now there's lots of other things going on. Just for your own sanity, just keep the dot on. So as I said, you could move from 1 to 1. I wouldn't worry about the notes that you're shifting to at the moment, because I'm just trying to demonstrate that you're going to be... So you're gripping. You're gripping here, obviously, to play that note. Then what we want to do is slightly reduce the grip, move our hand up, re-grip. Obviously, I'm not going to be taking my fingers off and moving up. I'm just showing that for the purpose of this video, because I can't physically show you the grip. So we're gripping. Slightly loosen that grip. Hand moves up as a whole. You can see the thumb is moving up. Perhaps if I do it from this side. So grip, loosen grip, move, loosen grip, move. So you're gripping, grip, play, loosen grip, move, grip, play, loosen grip, move, grip, play. So that's a bit of an exaggeration, and it's going very, very slowly. So you don't want to be physically taking your fingers off the strings. You just want to be sort of gripping to play, loosen to move, grip to play again, loosen to move. You'll probably find that movement will be fairly natural for you to do. It will just make sense, because there's no physical way that you're going to be able to grip and then move up, that you just physically won't be able to do it. So the other thing as well is that this small room that I'm filming in at the moment, with all the camera lights and all the amount of filming that I've been doing previously, my hands are actually getting quite hot and sticky and sweaty, and that will affect you when you're shifting up position. There isn't really a huge amount that you can do to counter that, but just don't beat yourself up if your hand gets quite sweaty and therefore makes it difficult to move on the neck of the violin. I wouldn't go down the route of trying to use talcum powder or anything like that. I would just move out of a different room, go and wash your hands, cool your hands down, try and do that kind of thing. It wouldn't be very often that you would be playing in public, in a small room with lots of lights, or perhaps if you were playing in a concert hall, the room would be very big. So if you are, for example, practicing in a much smaller room and you've got lots of lights beating down on you, similarly to this kind of setup, and I can tell as I'm filming my hands are getting quite sweaty, so it's harder for me to move, I just remove myself from the situation, cool down, come back. So don't try and frustratingly try and, I can't shift up the violin, because you'll just find that you won't be able to move because your hand will be slipping. So just cool your hands down and take yourself out of that situation until your hands are much smoother to move. So you have some information about all that on page 18 for you to read, and then we just move into the shifting exercises. So again, these aren't designed to be strictly played like this, they are just shifting exercises. So that's it really. So we're just mostly shifting on finger one there, but it's just simply about a shifting exercise, and you'll soon get the hang of shifting up and down the violin. But just remember, everything goes as a whole. We don't want any of this going on. We want everything going up and down as a whole. That's all there is to it really. Just make sure that you are gripping to play, loosening, move, grip to play, loosen, move, grip to play. And the other tip is to make sure that your hand is down. If your wrist is up, or if you have been playing with your wrist up, you're not going to be able to do this because you physically cannot move. That's why I always say to keep your wrist down so that when you come to moving, you can move nice and freely as a whole, as I am doing here. And I'm just going to play the shifting exercise number 2 for you. So again, the same thing applies. This is just purely to practice your shifting. If you need a little break, if you're just moving from one string to another, it doesn't really matter. These are just purely shifting exercises, not actual pieces of music. Before you move on to position exercise number 1 on page 21, it is very important to remember that you don't want to be moving on to lesson 24, this lesson, until you really have a good grip of where those third position notes are. Because not only are you actually going to be thinking about the shifting, but you're going to be thinking about where that shifting is from first to third position. So you want to make sure that you know where those notes are, or you're fairly confident where they are before you start working on this part of the lesson, because this is now not working on the notes. We've done that. I assume you know that from lesson 22 and 23. Now we're working on the actual shifting. So this is a position exercise number 1. And again, I've tried to make it as melodic as I can, but I've also tried to make it so that it covers all 4 strings. So up until now, we've just done basic exercises on all 4 strings. Then we did advanced exercises using the G and the D, then the D and the A, then the A and the E, and now we're mixing it all up and we're doing them all the strings, and we're going to be moving into position as well. And I just want to point out as well with these position exercises that you may find them a little trickier than usual, and again, there's always method to my madness. The reason why I have done this is because I really want to test you to the limits. If you can manage position changes and everything in these pieces, these exercises that I've done here, you're not going to have a problem in the real world playing real pieces of music, because you wouldn't really be shifting quite as terribly as I've done it in here. I've purposefully put in very awkward shifts in places that you wouldn't normally for the purpose of this shifting exercise. So again, if this exercise was a piece of music, we would be doing different shiftings and we would be doing different positions, because we want to create a nice, beautiful tone. But for the purpose of what we're trying to study here, I have made it slightly more shifty and third position-y than it would normally be, just so you guys really know what you're doing. So this is position exercise number 1, page 21. Position exercise 2. So there we go, that is the end of lesson 24. So remember, with lesson 22, 23 and 24, do not move on to those lessons until you are happy with the previous lessons, because it is all cumulative information. So you'll need to know all the basic exercises before you moved on to the advanced ones, before you move on to what we've just been doing here today in this lesson, where we're putting everything together. So I know it seems a little bit hard, and it will do in the beginning, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that, and learning third position is going to take a really long time to kind of get the hang of. But you know, the more you do it, the better it is, and actually playing in third position will soon become a long time friend of yours. Believe me, as violinists, we probably spend more time in third position than we do in any other position. Generally, I would say, because it's such a great position to play in. So it might seem quite confusing and complicated now, but I promise you it won't do in time. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the last lesson of this book for lesson 25.